Great storytelling games coming in 2020.
We don't get a lot of heads up about VR games these days. Certainly not some of the smaller and more interesting indie games. You don't really hear about them that far in advance. But the ones I can think of off the top of my head, Lone Echo 2, big AAA thing from Oculus. That's obviously going to be a big narrative spectacle for sure. We're going to see Vertigo 2 by Zalubo, I think it is. That was one of another kind of early day VR adventure, narrative-driven adventure. And we're going to see a sequel to that, and he's got some story stuff going on in there that's really interesting. So we're going to see that move forward. Firmament's going to come out, another narrative-driven puzzle adventure from Cyan, and so it can be top of the class kind of experience there for sure. So those are three to look out for: Lone Echo 2, Vertigo 2, and Firmament from Cyan.
So the storytelling games I'm looking forward to in 2020 for VR have to be Lone Echo 2, obviously. I'm a huge Lone Echo fan. I'm also really looking forward to the new Medal of Honor game in VR. That's mostly just because I worked on Medal of Honor titles previously in my career, so I'm really excited to see how they take that story and that world, which is so relatable and so scary and so intimidating. And as we know, a lot of these real-world scenarios can impact you so much more in virtual reality, and I'm really curious to see how they've handled a lot of those narrative elements in virtual reality, spatially. I also am really excited about Half-Life Alyx. I've played it, but I mean, if you had asked me a couple weeks ago, my answer would be Half-Life Alyx, because it's just so cool and finally and exciting. So yeah, Half-Life Alyx for sure.
There's so many great storytelling games coming out in 2020, including Iron Man VR, Phantom Covert Ops, After the Fall, Medal of Honor, Vertigo 2, and one I'm personally really excited for is Lone Echo 2. I love the first game and its story, so I can't wait to see what direction the sequel goes in.
What narrative game am I looking forward to the most in 2020? I think it would have to be an action game, and I think it's Iron Man. And I think the reason is because Marvel itself has got such an amazing history, so many comic books and films and movies and other different media created and written about the Marvel world. Iron Man himself is a character that's got a lot of depth to him and a lot of history to him. And so the developers and the team making the game and the writers have got all this amazing world that you're kind of familiar with anyway to tap into. And then when you think about the gameplay mechanics, if you've ever played Rush by Binary Mill, there's a game where you're flying through the air, and it shows that this mechanic of free falling and flying works amazingly well in VR. So you've got this incredible mechanic mixed with a potential for an amazing story, an amazing world. So I think Iron Man is probably the narrative-driven game that I'm looking forward to the most in 2020.
Well, I've gone for a bit of a difficult one here. It's probably not what you'd class as a storytelling game, VR game. Phantom Covert Ops. I've just heard so many good things about it, and I'm really excited to play it. And that is probably the game that I'm most looking forward to in the next couple of months.
Great storytelling games coming in 2020. The first one that springs to mind would be Lone Echo 2. The story is set between a character called Jack, which is you, and Liv, and it's all about your survival in space. It's a truly beautiful game, and I definitely suggest you check it out.
This may come as a surprise, but I'm actually looking forward to seeing the story in the new Iron Man game. It's likely not going to be as in-depth as something like The Invisible Hours, but the fact that this is another game that had a story trailer released for it makes me think that the narrative will be a big factor in driving the game forward. We have had a lot of movies now with Iron Man in, so let's hope they can still do something to shock and surprise us, story-wise.
For narrative-focused games coming out this year, I am especially intrigued by a game called Phantom Covert Ops, where you get to play in a kayak. So you paddle around and you have C4 and guns as well that you can use to overcome enemies and challenges. And I don't know much about the storytelling or the actual story in the game, but for what I've tried so far, it really puts you inside the game. And the kayak is a wonderful thing that can actually allow you to sit down while playing and then just soak in the surroundings and whatever happens on screen, and really make you believe that you have to be cautious when paddling around or use stealth, etc. So that's the title I'm looking forward to. It's coming this summer.
It hasn't been announced yet, but Moss 2? Is that coming out? That's what I'll look forward to. Ghost Giant 2, I'll take that too. I'm just happy to see whatever else is coming out for VR. I try not to look too far in advance, especially with everything that's going on right now in the world. If things happen, they happen, and I'm willing to accept anything and everything that comes our way right about now. But straight up, if you drop a Moss 2 announcement, or if somebody does, man, I will lose my mind. Announce that, will you?